Now, the lunar terror crash isn't exactly breaking news at this point. It's a couple of weeks old, actually, and we're all well aware of what happened. A cryptocurrency worth tens of billions of dollars and a second cryptocurrency which was supposed to remain stable at the price of $1, also worth tens of $billions, collapsed overnight, erasing about $100 billion of value from those protocols and causing a crypto market crash which would see about another $200 to $300 billion of wealth disappear. Now we know why it happened. The protocol, the coding, the innate fundamentals of the project were just not sound. The stablecoin was not stable, and essentially there was a new version, a digital crypto version of a run on a bank, where a positive feedback loop just leads to investors panicking and pulling money out, and so the price crashes, and so more investors panic, and it just spiraled down until each coin, which used to be worth above $110 each, now isn't even worth a fraction of a penny. Now, the reality is here that there is a tragedy, but it isn't that all this wealth was lost. It was that all this wealth was sucked up into what amounted to a failed system in the first place. This wealth should have never existed in the first place. That's the real problem here, because it was all based on a lie and a flawed system. Now, Dokuan is the man behind this flawed system, who for years told us all that it wasn't flawed, that it was okay, that any and all criticism of himself or his project was simply FUD, fear, uncertainty, or doubt. He told us that we're wrong, that we're irrelevant, that we don't matter, and most importantly, he went on weird tirades calling other people poor, which by comparison to himself is accurate. He made billions out of this, basically what amounted to a scam, and he's the only one who hasn't lost out here. His investors are broke. They have lost all of their investments, but he's still sitting there happy, pretty, sitting on billions of dollars worth of Bitcoin, funded by what basically amounted to a Ponzi scheme. Now, this is where, of course, he's getting a lot of criticism right now, basically because it turned out not only was he running a massive scam, but he was also kind of an asshole. He had a rather nasty habit of calling anyone who dared to criticize him or his system poor. Back in July, Quans mocked a British economist who criticized the so-called algorithmic stable model. This economist pointed out that actually self-correcting mechanisms, which are supposed to keep the value of UST pegged to $1, don't work when there's mass panic and when the system doesn't have time to catch up and correct those mistakes. Dokuan, being the nasty person that he is, simply replied, "I don't debate the poor on Twitter, and sorry, I don't have any change on me for her at the moment." Of course, though, that isn't the only time he's behaved like this. Anon, you could listen to CT influencers about UST depegging for the 69th time, or you could remember that they're all now poor and go for a run instead. What are you doing? Now, that message is particularly poignant because it was exactly that, UST depegging, that led to this monumental collapse where tens of billions of dollars of wealth was lost. Of course, though, it doesn't stop there. You can see his tweets here. "You still poor. I don't liquidate the poor. Wag me, which is especially ironic because wag me means we're all going to make it, while Luna holders did not make it. I don't gamble against the poor, and pretty sure he's poor." He's obviously not a very nice person, but here's where things really don't make sense, because the people who have lost money from this don't seem to want to blame the person responsible for this utter failure. Let me say it again, Dokuan is still rich. He is still a billionaire. He never sold the billions of dollars worth of Bitcoin that he claimed existed to back UST. He's sitting pretty on what amounts to a life fortune that most of us could never dream of, and he got it all through scamming his holders. Now, with markets looking so volatile right now in pretty much every sector and asset class, people are more than ever looking to alternatives, which is perfect timing because with unprecedented volatility and high inflation rates, JP Morgan recently stated that alternative assets are no longer optional for people and their investments. So to meet this increased demand for alternatives, fintech platforms are stepping up and giving people access to investments that they would have only dreamed of in the past. Now, one of them, and my personal favorite, offers a unique asset that's been long celebrated as a way to store wealth. In fact, the ultra wealthy have been using it for decades, and now 85% of wealth managers recommend that modern investors do the same. But where previously it's been far out of our price range, now it can be yours in a few clicks thanks to Masterworks. Now, Masterworks is a revolutionary investing platform that lets you become a stakeholder in multi-million-dollar artworks without needing millions to invest. And since I've started talking about them on this channel as a sponsor, they've been blown away by the response from you guys, with over 2,000 of you having signed up. Now, each of the 3 paintings that Masterworks have sold have returned over 30% net IRR to their investors. Now, legally, I have to add that past performance is no guarantee of future results, but 30+% is pretty amazing. If you want to join other Stoic Finance subscribers, it's as easy as clicking my special link in the description to skip their waitlist and get started on Masterworks. Now, at this point in time, Terra is dead. Luna is dead. Please do not invest in those protocols. Please don't invest in anything that Dokuan offers you, no matter how much the FOMO might get to you. The plan at the moment, as far as I'm aware, is to revive Luna without the stablecoin backing it, making it just another random smart contract platform, one which is led by a discredited fool who is pretty much guaranteed to be malicious. Now, as with this sort of thing, as with collapses in financial markets or crypto markets as well, conspiracy theories are rife. They are absolutely everywhere. They are extremely common, and there's no wonder why. They're interesting to read. They can be very fun to find out. We all love them a little bit sometimes, and often they're used to fill gaps in knowledge that we might have. And with Luna and this massive depegging and collapse, there certainly are numerous gaps in our knowledge. No one is 100% sure about every single detail that happened. So, as you might expect, a bunch of conspiracy theories have emerged. They're going around online and they're trying to explain Luna's crash conveniently, leaving Dokuan absolutely blameless. Most of them conjure up this random mythical boogeyman, an evil bank or institution or hedge fund that is just obsessed with trying to kill crypto, that it's malicious and political, and that everything wasn't about money, it wasn't about exploiting a failed protocol, a flaw in a system and making some profit. It was about tearing down finance, decentralized finance, and crypto, trying to keep the world oppressed for years more. Of course, none of this is true. None of these conspiracy theories are accurate. None of them have a shred of evidence to defend them, to support them, to even suggest that they even might be remotely true. The reality is that profit was the motive. This was the free market at work. Money, that was the greed, that was the incentivizer. That's it, and nothing else. And so I thought I'd just show you what some of these conspiracy theories are. Now, this is the biggest conspiracy theory that's going around, and it comes from none other than 4chan. It claims that BlackRock and Citadel borrowed 100,000 Bitcoin from Gemini. They swapped 25,000 of that Bitcoin into UST, the stablecoin that collapsed, and this was done quietly in anticipation of an attack. When the time was right, they called up Dokuan at the Terra Foundation and said that they wanted to sell their Bitcoin for UST. And as it was a large trade, they told them that they didn't want to move the market, so they tried to do it at a discount behind the backs. Dokuan wasn't malicious here, apparently, according to this conspiracy theory. It was an accident and he took the bait. He was manipulated. He gave them a huge chunk of UST, lowering the liquidity of UST significantly. And at that point, BlackRock and Citadel dumped all of their Bitcoin and UST, causing massive slippage, forcing the price down massively and triggering a cascade of forced selling in both assets. BlackRock and Citadel also apparently knew that Anchor, which holds a lot of Luna, that's the lending platform based on Luna and UST, was a Ponzi scheme, as they offer a 20% yearly annualized return. They knew that this crash would trigger more withdrawals than Anchor could repay, and those forced withdrawals when selling would trigger an even larger massive sell-off in Luna, thus further breaking the $1 peg and basically destroying Luna and Terra. Now, BlackRock and Citadel would be able to repay their loans back cheaply at a fraction of the cost that they made them, making billions of dollars while destroying the crypto market, which of course is exactly what they want. Now, the problem with this is obvious if it doesn't already seem it. There is no evidence whatsoever to suggest that BlackRock or Citadel or any other hedge fund had anything to do with this. This is pulled entirely out of thin air, and the only source for it is literally this screen grab on 4chan. Another conspiracy theory here suggests that actually it was another crypto community that was trying to kill Luna, and this time, of course, it was Ethereum, the other bigger, larger, main smart contract protocol that pretty much runs as the silver horse of crypto. The evidence here is also extremely lacking. This man, this random man who just spouts nonsense on Twitter all day long, claims that Quans was attacked for choosing Bitcoin and Avalanche over Ethereum for the Lunar Foundation Guard, which was supposed to back the system. He also claimed that other major players in the foundation were publicly critical of Ethereum, and as a result of that, they were targeted. And of course, this is all absolutely baseless as well. There's no evidence to suggest this at all. It's completely random. It comes out of nowhere. This is the only source, just some random man claiming that we should trust him. Finally, then, we have one more random man responding to SBF. Sam Bankman-Fried, the founder of FTX, one of the largest crypto exchanges in the world. This Twitter user, Pavel, seems to be doing everything he can to ensure that Dokuan's name remains untainted, to ensure that he isn't burdened with having created an awful protocol and just managing to scale it into the tens of billions, when in reality, it should have died the day it existed. He's trying to push blame onto the person or the organization that created this crash, even though we don't even know if there was a crash. The only thing we do know is that it was a flawed protocol, and that in the end, game theory and greed and human nature caused it to fail. The reality is here that this attack wasn't malicious, but Luna was. If you lost money, then you lost money because you invested in what amounted to a scam and a failed project, not because some evil boogeyman, a bank, an institution, or some rival crypto project decided to bring you down. Frankly, this is like being mad at the police or the FBI for bringing a Ponzi scheme to a stop before you could get out, as opposed to being angry at the Ponzi scheme and its creators in the first place. In times like this, it is very important to ensure that we remain careful, to ensure that we actually do our own research and that we actually do it thoroughly. But the biggest thing, the craziest part of all of this, is that people knew about this problem for months or even years. People knew that this would spiral out of control and collapse, but all of this criticism was waved off as FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt, which is basically a catch-all term used for any investment that is wildly overvalued and that has a cult following of people who are sure that their investment in that thing is going to bring them to the moon. Frankly, the second you hear anyone say FUD, whether it's serious or not, alarm bells should be ringing in your mind. You should be wondering what they're hiding and why they can't face criticism head on. If you enjoyed this video, then make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to bless the YouTube algorithm. It really does help. If you want to join our exclusive community, then check out our Patreon. You get access to our Discord server and extra content like access to my portfolio and buy and sell alerts for all my own investments. Also, make sure to check out the link in the description to Masterworks. They can help you protect your portfolio against market turmoil through fractional shares of art from world famous artists. Art has historically proven to be uncorrelated to the markets, so it's a really valuable resource with the markets falling every week. There's also a link in the description to I Trust Capital, a site that allows you to invest in crypto through your tax-advantaged IRA, which could literally save you thousands. If you think that crypto going down is a buy-in opportunity, then now is the perfect time to join I Trust Capital. Thank you all for watching. Stay stoic. Until next time.